Okay, it is 5:45 and I'm going to call the meeting to order. Let the record reflect that all members are present except for Mr. Hurt. We need an adoption of the agenda for this evening.
I move to approve the agenda for this evening.
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Santos and seconded by Ms. Naomi Vernier. Roll call, please.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Vernier?
Yes.
Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
We also have minutes from September 5th. Did everybody have a chance to look at those? Anybody have any corrections or changes? Seeing none, we need a motion to adopt that.
I move approval of the minutes of September 5th.
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Kendall. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Ms. Pam?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Naomi Vernier?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Public comment on closed session items. We don't have anybody in the audience, so I'm going to move right along. We're going to adjourn to closed session. We have 3 items: conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, conference with labor negotiators, and public employee discipline and dismissal, reclassification. And we're going to be adjourned at 5:47.
Vicky.
The board is reconvening since 5:45. We were in closed session. We have nothing to report out, and we do have a special guest to lead our flag salute. Fawcett.
All right. Thank you, Trustee Mayor. So I would like to invite Jace Schrog up to the mic right now. So Jace, go ahead and please come on up. Jace, I'm going to read a few words about you that your principal provided to me, and then you'll be able to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So Jace is a Pacific View Academy 7th grader. He's attended Pacific View for the past 3 years. Jace and his family have pioneered the idea of online learning along with Lucia Moore. He excels in all aspects of our program, quietly leading by example and always ready to learn. Jace is an avid trap shooter. Last year, he went to state finals. He won 3rd place for his individual division, and his squad took 2nd place. Now, he even competes against professional trap shooters. Jace is also a family man. He enjoys spending time with his grandparents in Arizona and has prepared his little brother well for Pacific View 2. So if you ever see a young man wearing an American flag hat in our hallways, it might be PVA's own Jace Schrog. Jace, thank you so much for being here. You may now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Salute. Pledge.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jace.
Thank you very much. Appreciated that. Well done. Moving along to items of interest from the board. Is there anybody that has something to share this evening?
I wanted to say something.
Okay.
I ran into one of our retired teachers, Terry Handy, the other day, and he is involved in the Dana Adobe Heritage Day, which takes place on Saturday, September 30th. And if you've never been, it's really a fun family day. They do reenactments, demonstrations. It's a celebration of the Rancho period of California history locally at the Dana Adobe. Tours of the Adobe, which has been completely renovated. So September 30th in Napomo.
I volunteered up there at one point when they were having classes come out. It's fascinating and a lot of fun. Thank you.
You might want to add Donna when he used to do Civil War up at Mr. Handy.
Right, he was a social studies teacher.
Yes.
Judkins.
Anybody else?
I will. Thank you to Dr. Fawcett, who led us through a board workshop on Saturday in the morning from 9 to 12, where the board came together to look at the protocols for how we run our meetings, what we affirm as our norms. It was a good morning. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Anybody else? It's been a quiet 2 weeks. Not a whole lot going. Okay. All right. Dr. Fawcett, Superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Trustee Mayor. I'd like to invite for my report up Linda Lidberg. She's the coordinator of Tech Trek for the Five Cities American Association of University Women's, AAUW. She has exhibited tremendous leadership in our community and provided many opportunities for our students. And she's going to share a little bit about what Tech Trek is. Linda, thank you.
Thank you. As Dr. Fawcett said, I am here representing the Five Cities Pismo Beach branch of the American Association of University Women, also known as AAUW. We're an organization that supports equity for women and girls. And one of the programs that our organization is involved with is Tech Trek. Tech Trek began in 1998 with a grant from our national organization. And what it does is it provides an opportunity for girls leaving the 7th grade to attend a week-long resident camp at a major university. And during that time that they're there, they attend classes in a wide range of subjects. I think this past summer they did forensics and aeronautical engineering and oceanography and computer programming and robotics. They also work in small groups with girls that they've never met before. They live in the dorms, eat in the cafeteria, and they have a great time. We've had reports that the ice cream at UCSB is phenomenal. Every year they go on a whale watching trip. But the whole purpose behind it is to encourage girls at a young age to become involved in science, technology, engineering, and math. Since 1999, our local organization has worked with the middle school teachers in Lucia, who then, with their math, science, and technology teachers, each of those teachers nominates one girl who might benefit the most from this experience. After an application process and an essay, they go through an interview with members of our branch, and then we fund the entire scholarship fee for the girls to go to UCSB. Since 1999, our Five Cities group has sent over 800 girls to Tech Trek. Wow. Statewide, this past summer, 800 girls went to camp in July. There are also virtual camps for those who don't have branches in the area. Nationwide, Tech Trek has also gone nationwide, various combinations of the program in other states. Since its inception in 1998, 11,000 girls have gone to Tech Trek. Tonight, I'm going to have two of our young ladies who went to camp in July share with you a little bit about their experience. We sent 4 girls this past summer. 2 had other commitments tonight, but I'd like to introduce first Andrea Zarati, and she's going to share with you her experience, and then I'll have her introduce Vivian Ling.
Tech Trek was one of my best experiences, and I am grateful for it. Tech Trek developed excitement, interest, and self-confidence for myself and young women who do well in the STEM field, math and science. I feel that Tech Trek might impact my future because it expands and influences my academic and social life, starting in middle school and continuing throughout my career. It allows girls to experience a week on a college campus and understand what it's like. Throughout the whole week at UCSB, we learned about marine biology, where we went on a boat ride and went inside the aquarium to study marine life, aerospace engineering, forensics, and computer science, where we were able to code apps and robots. We also met women in STEM careers and learned what they do and had a campus tour at UCSB.
Hi, I'm Vivian, and I really cherished my time at Tech Trek. I was put in the coding and robotics core class, which definitely wasn't my top choice, but I ended up really enjoying it. I got to design robots and create apps in my class using coding, which I've done only on occasion. There were also other classes like forensics, marine science, and aerospace engineering. This camp felt like a sneak peek into what college would be like, and I feel like it really helped prepare me for the future. My my experience at Tech Check has really boosted my love for STEM, and I've been thinking about going into a STEM career because of it. I'm so thankful for AAUW for giving girls like me this opportunity, and I'm hopeful young girls will be able to continue going to Tech Check and get even more opportunities like this one.
The benefit the girls gain from Tech Trek lasts a long time. In fact, our organization also gives high school scholarships to Lucia girls. And 2 of this year's scholarship recipients were former Tech Trekkers. So it kind of goes on and on. We've had reports of girls that have gone into the medical field, the engineering fields, and PhDs in line. Many of them even become teachers and doctors and nurses. So it's a very wonderful experience. And I want to thank the middle school teachers in this district who give of their time to make the nominations, fill out the paperwork. The last couple of years it's been online, which is always an interesting situation, transitioning to something new. But it's been a program that I've been very dedicated to, having had a science background, and I want to thank the district for help continuing to support it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That's phenomenal, the numbers. I spent my freshman year at UCSB, so I know that the campus is wonderful, and what an experience for young ladies to spear them on to finishing school. That's excellent. Thank you.
Good job, ladies.
Before we move on to the consent calendar and on our agenda, I want to point out that we do have an interpreter in the audience for anybody that needs translation this evening. If anybody has things to add to our agenda that want to speak, we have speaker cards in the back lobby. There are 2 cards, one for items on the agenda and also items not on our agenda. So I encourage you, if you would like to share some information with us this evening, that you fill out one of those cards and give it to either Marilyn or Dr. Handy over here. Okay? I neglected to do all the introductions. I'm not usually in this spot lately.
You're doing great.
All right, our consent calendar. We have items 1 through 9. Is there anybody on the board that would like to pull an item to discuss further or say anything about it at all? Anybody? Is there anybody in the audience that has anything about items 1 through 9? Not seeing anybody. I'll bring it back to our board. Any comments? Then I entertain a motion, please.
I move approval of consent calendar action items for September 19, 2023, items 1 through 9.
Second.
It's been moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Santos. Roll call, please.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Ms. Pam?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Moving right along to reports, presentations, resolutions, proclamations. Item number 10. That is Dr. Fawcett school site presentation. Oh, yay.
Thank you, Trustee Mayor.
He's going to introduce you.
I'm going to introduce you.
Okay. Hi.
Well, we appreciate you, Principal Bone, being here with us this evening. Last year, we started site reports where sites have the opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on, sharing things that they're celebrating and goals they have for the year. And it's a pleasure to introduce Principal Bowen, who's going to give us an overview of all of our alternative ed programs. Thank you for being here, Ms. Bone.
Thank you. Nice to be here this evening. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Gonna keep
Okay.
it nice and close.
Yes, let me move that a little closer. And I have to apologize. I'm not sick. It's from talking too much in the beginning of the school year. Sometimes this happens to my voice, usually in August and September with a lot of talking. So first of all, I just wanted to say thanks for having me here. It's been a while since I've done this or done something to present to the school board. So I just appreciate the opportunity. As you all know, my role changed about, is it 3 or 4 years ago? It's kind of a blur. Of course, during the crazy time of being in the school closures. I like to joke a little bit that, and no offense to you all, but dear Jolie Martin, as I'm sure you've all heard, passed away, but she was a big part of kind of creating this new way of bringing all of alternative education together. And I just wanted to note that during the time of school closure, one of our favorite things to do together, which I probably will never say this again, is log on Tuesday nights and watch school board meetings. So, that was a really fun time because we were all at home, and it was a way for us to stay engaged and also hear kind of from you all, how that process was going. So for
We
those
don't
of you,
miss it.
what was that?
We don't miss
I'm
it.
sure you don't miss it. I know I don't, and I don't mean the parts that got a little out of hand, but I do mean that just being able to kind of log in on Tuesday nights and participate from home in a different way. And Jolie and Meg and I at the time would exchange texts throughout that process because a lot had to do with developing PVA as a school. So for me, that was kind of an exciting time in a different way than it was for some of you all. So the first slide here is just what is Lucia Mar Alternative Education. Of course, it's our independent study school, which used to be a program, Lopez Continuation High School, and then adult education. I know that we have student representatives here. We do a lot of updates, mostly about Lopez High School. I think they've started to, we've incorporated some things going on at Pacific View Academy and once in a while adult ed, but the focus, of course, is the in-person Lopez High School. So most of my slides here are focused more on Pacific View Academy and adult education, just to give you a little more information about that. So first of all, just the team, right? The team looks a lot differently than it used to. So we brought aboard Mr. Keith Gledhill. So if you hadn't had a chance to meet him, he's doing an amazing job. And he is the assistant principal. And then Katie Gonzalez, who is actually a Lopez alumni. She is our guidance counselor. She took over for Bernie Dominguez. And then there's me. And then this is just a picture of how our team has grown. This is from the welcome back, which picture turned out really nice, and we appreciate that. But it just kind of gives you an idea of how our team has grown. And you can see that a lot of our staff members overlap in different areas. Keith and I, of course, across all three programs. Katie works with Lopez and PVA, and then some teachers cross over as well and do some supervising at Pacific View Academy of students and our teachers of record. So one thing that's super exciting and a little daunting, honestly, but very proud to report that all three programs in different places are going to be up for WASC visits this year. And we have been working with Elizabeth, I forgot her last name, I think it's Orbiter. She is the alternative education sort of WASC person. And she's the one who encouraged us to go for WASC accreditation with adult education. Even though it's a super different setting, it's really important. And she brought forward, and we actually had experienced two different students in adult ed who came across some barriers, which we don't want that for our students. Barriers as in financial aid when they decided to go to a community college. There was a student who couldn't go to a particular fire academy or some kind of academy to further their education because adult education wasn't WASC accredited, and so they didn't recognize that. So she encouraged that we do that, and we're going to do it all at the same time, which is just another way we're continuing to kind of be that big family, even though we're all really different. So Pacific View Academy is in our self-study report. They come out in year one and say, yes, it looks like you're all doing WASC accredited worthy things. Here's your accreditation. So last year, as you all know, was our first official graduation ceremony. And so this year they'll come and we'll do our self-study report to them and hopefully get our 6 or 3 year return visit, review. Lopez High School is mid-cycle review, so we are in year 3 of our 6-year accreditation. And then adult education, as I mentioned, this will be brand new for us. So we're working across that. And there is Danny Ender, who has a lot of experience helping me with WASC at Lopez. And so this year, he will be sort of helping me lead the other two sites through that process. So he's kind of our co-coordinator. So to jump into a little bit of Pacific View Academy, we have been really trying hard to get our students to come to do some things in person. You've probably heard about a few of those things at board presentations, but one concern that I have, of course, is some of our students, as you met Jace earlier, he's out there doing things and competing and socializing and around other kids his age. But some of our students are still pretty isolated for different reasons, whether it's health reasons or just still concerns. People still have major concerns about COVID. Some of our families feel like public school is great in a lot of ways, but in some ways doesn't totally fit. So PVA is really still a great option for all those different profiles and more of students. So, but for us, it's really important that they stay connected to the school. And the best way to do that is to create some fun. And so this is just a quick overview of our Friday schedule that we started. Super, super excited to be incorporating music. Thanks wherever that funding came from. We're super excited to have that. For our elementary and middle schoolers to learn a little bit of the ukulele and voice is what they're focusing on. We still have our open gym and other activities as well that are focusing on some STEAM and some SEL lessons. Our counselor on Friday is kind of incorporating some of that. So that's what we call Fun Friday. And then last year we found out from our high school students or even some of our kind of more mature middle school students, they didn't like coming Fridays because it wasn't cool, because it was, mostly little kids. So we're moving that to Wednesdays and doing a social club. Really, it's just for teenagers to come together and hang out and do some fun activities, we hope, play games, things like that. So kind of depends on which students show up, and then it morphs as we go along. But we're continuing to try to do that. We wanted to try to do Pelicans in person, which was something that actually Nicole Neff came up with to try to get some of our elementary kids. So as intervention needs come up, we may continue to work on that as a future goal, is getting some of those elementary kiddos in person more for academics. So these are just some more fun pictures of kids participating in our Lego club and some of our open gym time. So there's some of our little PVAers. Then for our adult education program, I wanted to just share that one thing that we're doing this year is partnering with CTE to bring the cosmetology pathway to adult learners as well. So the goal, and I think Kristen's here, yes, is adult education funding is funding just a little piece of the teacher that will be at Lopez in the cosmetology program. So the idea is once our lab here is licensed, that we can then open this up to adult education students, and they can, for a minimal fee and more at cost than some of the more expensive programs that are in Northern and Southern California, can actually participate and work on their cosmetology hours right here in our county, which is so exciting if and when we get that license. Yeah. So we're waiting on that, and then we will launch that for our adult learners. One thing that's super important, and adult ed, we keep hearing at various webinars that could change, is how they fund us could be based more on sort of an ADA type model. So they call that student persistence, engagement, and then performance is also part of our funding formula. Persistence and engagement has doubled nearly since 2020. Adult ed was really hit hard by school closures. We had very little participation, but now we have our learning centers back open, and especially the one in Nipomo. We have a lot of students actually that come from Santa Maria because they don't have adult education program in Santa Maria, so we get a lot of students from there that participate. So we've seen a big increase there, and then our student data, their performance has gone up about 10% since 2020. We do a certain kind of pre-testing when they come in and post-testing in math and language arts. And then let's see, what's the, and then we also are just targeting, doing some outreach for some maybe Lucia non-grads. We piloted a little program last year and reached out mostly to Lopez students who didn't quite finish, just to see how that would go and house it at Lopez, where we have some of our gifted Lopez teachers who've worked with at-risk kids and adults. And that is an opportunity to kind of do a query in Aries and see where did those non-grads go from all of our high schools, and how can we, while they're still young and still haven't kind of left this area, and if they're close to being done, how can we get them back into our program and help them finish a diploma, which we all know is really, really important. So those are some highlights for adult ed. And that's just a picture of some of our learning centers, quite crowded, which is great to see. They were sparse for a while. So, and our learning centers, for those of you that don't know, we have one at Oceano Elementary Campus and one at Napomo Campus. And like I said, we've sort of started a little mini learning center at Lopez. So I believe that is my last slide. Do I answer questions? I can't remember. Any questions?
Any questions from board members?
questions?
Any comments from our audience? Any comments from board members?
Yeah.
Comments? I'll make a
Ms.
comment.
Martin?
I think the in-person engagement opportunities are a great idea. 3 years is a long time to be, and we all know that the soft skills that we learn at school are just as important as those academic skills. So,
Absolutely.
bravo to you. And I think if, whether it's arts and crafts or playing games or whatever, you might have to have a table for the parents too, but oh well.
We kind of do, yeah. The Lego Club last year was a big hit for some of the parents, yeah. They would be off to the side, they had their own table.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I find those wooden shaped things where you can make cool designs is a good thing for the parents
Oh, okay,
too.
we'll have to take a look at that, yeah, yes. No, and I agree, it really is social skills that we're focusing on with, so it doesn't matter really the activity, we're just trying to get the kids to interact with peers near their age group. And they love it. They actually really love it. They want it. They crave it. So, yeah. Come by anytime, Friday afternoons.
I just wanted to congratulate you for running 3 schools, not just one, but 3.
Thank you.
And your team that goes with it. I mean, who else would be crazy enough to do that?
Well, I've asked myself that question as well from
But
time to
you're
time,
doing
but
an
yes.
outstanding job, and the kids
Thank
love
you.
it there. I know they miss Bernie, but I think you've filled that spot, and I can't say enough about what you've done over there.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It means a lot to me. Yeah, I do. I went away for a couple of years and reconnected with Dr. Flores, which is how I kind of got back into alternative ed, because in this district, she was superintendent at the time, and I worked at Lopez High School and reached out to her for a letter of recommendation. So that's kind of how I got back into it. And I do feel very passionate about alternative ed and serving, student populations that may not fit, the square peg kind of thing, and trying to be creative to find ways to help kids be successful, and adults.
And
Yeah.
I think one of the things when you hear the student's letter at graduation time, it means so much.
It really does. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a wonderful, wonderful teams, people that are really dedicated to working with all those, in the different settings with those populations of students and adults too.
Thank
So, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
And finally, I had the pleasure of working under Miss Bowen as a teacher.
Right.
She's a phenomenal leader. You make our district shine with your leadership
Thank
at those
you.
3 schools, and I'm really proud that you're in our district and that I was able to work under you. Thank you. for all
Thank
you
you. It's funny. I have told a few people that I used to be, now you're my boss, but I used to be your boss, so to speak.
Yep.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
Yes.
Trustee Mayor, may I
Yes.
add one comment too?
Yeah.
I know I'm not supposed to normally, but I just want to take a moment too, because Principal Bowen was modest. The last few years, there's been all kinds of trials and tribulations. And one of the things that came out of the pandemic is every single year, and sometimes multiple times a year, the changes to PVA and the expectations on the legal requirements, from adding additional student contact time to the numbers of students on the caseloads, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then being down employees and being down administrators at the school site. She's continued to be kind of that stable person with a vision out there. And with her vision, now we're accrediting more schools in alternative ed, all of our schools, all of our programs in alternative ed, which has never happened in Lucia more. And that's a pretty cool feat. And it's going to be a great opportunity for this community. So thank you, Principal Bone.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Well, good night.
Okay, we're going to move on to item number 11, report elementary music. Ms. Dixon.
Thank you very much. As our elementary team is getting ready to present, I just wanted to remind the board that last year we spent a lot of time gathering input, and you may remember that when we reached out to parents, the number one thing they asked for their students relative to additional visual and performing arts was additional music. So then we did a lot of dreaming, and then we did some serious planning, much of which fell to Ms. Anderson and her amazing work. And now we have some very joyous music making. So we're very pleased this evening to share a report on how the music program is going. And I'll turn it over to Ms. Anderson.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. I am so excited to be here tonight. And I get to introduce the most amazing music team. But actually, I'm going to let them do the presentation because they are going to do it that much better. So I would like to call up Mike Wetsum, one of our newest teachers.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me speak here today. I've been teaching music pretty much since I was in high school and college, but this is my first opportunity to teach in the public schools. And I think you'll see from the pictures and from the responses here, we're having a blast. It's a lot of fun, and I just, the opportunity to be able to do this is very special. So I'd like to introduce our team and then go over some of the goals that we've had for this year and then the following year as well, goals that we've created for this music program. You can see there's a lot of smiling faces with this team. I've had the opportunity to work with some amazing people over my years, but this team, the passion, the enthusiasm, the commitment they have to the students is incredible. So team one, we have Jess and Tay. Jess and Tay are serving Ocean View, Dana, Grover Beach, Grover Heights, Lang Branch. They are teaching grades TK through 3rd with STC classes as well. Team 2 is myself and my awesome partner Ian, who is clearly not lacking for charisma and enthusiasm. It is an honor to work with this guy. We are working at Fairgrove, Harlow, Oceano, Shell Beach, Lang, Napomo. TK through 4 is what we teach with STC classes as well. Team 3 is the awesome Heidi and Gina. Lang, Dana, Napomo, Fairgrove, Harlow, Branch. They are teaching TK, Kinder, and 3 through 6. And then our final team is Kev, Dina, Raymond. The school served Branch, Shell Beach, Harlow, Grover Beach, Ocean View, Oceano, Fairgrove, Grover Heights, Lang, PVA. They're doing 3rd, 4th through 6th, and SDC. Again, I just can't say enough about being able to work with this team. It's incredible. I've had the opportunity to watch some of the teachers actually teach, and every time I walk away with new things and new and refreshing things for me to work on myself. So our goals for next year, we want to include music for all students. Our goals for this year was to include music for all students, TK through 6th grade. And it is amazing to see that happen. To be in the classrooms and watching that happen is incredible. We also wanted to establish a strong band program to feed into the middle schools so that they're really ready for when they enter middle school band programs. And then providing TK and 3rd graders with the skills and the motivation to start playing instruments in 4th grade. And I added or sooner because I'm already starting to get a lot of I want to play violin, I want to play piano. So that's a really cool byproduct of this. So hopefully even before 4th grade. In next year, what we'd love to see is an even stronger band presence with higher enthusiasm for band. We'd like to reestablish the middle school choir program. The choir program is something that's very dear to us. And then elementary school performances, that is probably one of the #1 questions that I get from a lot of the teachers. Can we get a performance at our school? So something that we'd like to include. And then field trips to local symphony. I actually play with some of the symphonies around here. San Luis Obispo Symphony, Santa Maria Philharmonic, and I've seen in Santa Maria and in San Luis Obispo the impact it has when we do a short 40-minute program where they bus in 3rd and 4th graders for a 40-minute program that's directly targeted for them. The impact is incredible. would love to see that happen here at Lucia Mar. And just some of the photos, some of the excitement that happens in the classrooms. Music is exciting. It is absolutely incredible to be in the classrooms having this all happen. I think one of the really cool things here, we've got Ian up there playing trombone. We've got Tan Jess on guitars. I bring in my viola. It's amazing that most of my students now know viola more than a violin, which I'm very proud of. We've got Kev with his bass. I mean, there's just so much. There's such a wealth of knowledge, experience, the education that these students are receiving from incredible musicians and music educators is amazing to watch. And I think that's it for me. So I'm going to pass it along to Jess, and thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Nye, and I'm joined by my amazing colleagues in the newest wave of music education. This job holds a very special place in my heart. I was a child of Lucia Mar for 10 years, and I've now worked for 10 years in Lucia Mar. And I was lucky enough to have music when I attended Ocean View with the famous Miss Cannon. And now we get to fill these students' hearts with music. And if you walked into our classrooms, this is what you would see. We would be playing instruments, singing, dancing, moving, encouraging our students to express themselves. And if you watch the students, you'd see them engaged, laughing, singing along, playing instruments, and participating with joy. The scope and sequence of our team aligns with our goals we have for the year, such as enhancing our band programs, building the choir up again in middle school, and so on. And we plan to do this by, 1, aligning our curriculum with the current music standards and objectives outlined by the state of California. 2, establishing a curriculum through piloting Savas interactive music, which we're currently doing. And 3, finding vertical alignment in the standards. As we know from being teachers, the establishment of foundational learning is key when delivering instruction. For example, in math, we teach students how to identify numbers early so they can be able to add and subtract later. We're doing this now with music, showing students the foundations, which include rhythm, beat, melody, and so on, from a young age, so our students can grow in music as they move up in school. This is key for a lifelong love of music, as well as building skills that span much farther than just music alone. And here you can see the skills that we're already practicing with our students. We've practiced keeping beat, identifying melodic direction, identifying dynamics, using rhythm instruments, moving with music, singing a variety of songs, looking at note values and beat verse rhythm. And you can see the other things we have on the horizon as well. But most importantly, we see how much students are enjoying having weekly music instruction. We're all greeted by eager minds each day, ready to absorb what we have to teach them. And to close, I'd like to show you some videos from our team out there in the field. This first one at the top, you'll see Mrs. Espinosa's kindergartners at Grover Beach Elementary moving along to our song, Keeping the Beat in Our Feet. You'll see them not only trying to keep the beat, but practicing skills like following directions, identifying patterns within the music, and being aware of the space around them. And in the next video, you'll see Miss Fox's second graders at Grover Beach singing our favorite song, Lost Boy, a song about the whimsy of being young in Peter Pan's world and how imagination can take us far places. This song has proven to be a favorite among students, and they love singing along, and a few even become emotional when singing the song. And I tell them music can make us feel big things. It can make us want to cry, laugh, scream, feel silly, and that's okay to feel those things. We welcome that when we hear music that moves us. And music skills are important, yes, but this program is proving to span far beyond than just music instruction.
Step, stop, 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 stop. And then you clap our hands. Turn around, touch the ground. Ready to hop? Ready to hop? Hop, 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 hop.
And then this is our Lost Boy song. And then on our next slide, we have some more videos of our And here you'll see Kev McDonald singing our famous goodbye song with his egg shakers. And then this is Mr. Bewley's SDC class at Oceano Elementary.
Farewell to you, my friends. Goodbye for now. Until we meet again, I said so long. Farewell to you, my friends.
So we thank you for your time in letting us show you the magic that's going on in our classroom as we deliver music for all elementary students, putting our students first. We'd like to end our time with you by singing our goodbye song. You may grab your egg shakers and you can sing along with us. We hope you were listening to our All right. If you're ready, say, I'm ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, perfect. So long, farewell to you, my friends. Goodbye for now until we meet again. And it's been great to learn and sing together. And now it's time to say goodbye. So long, farewell to you, my friends. Goodbye for now until we meet again. Amazing job. Thank you so much.
With that, we're happy to take any questions that the board may have and maybe requests for special songs.
Would you like these back?
Yeah, they want
Yeah.
Might as well
Any
pass them this way.
questions? No. Any comments from our audience? I have a whole bunch of comments. Anybody else have any comments?
I get to say that Jessica's one of my students.
I have some of you as teachers.
I have a comment.
Go.
It's great. You're creating memories. My kids went to Harlow, and when there was no vocal music for my son's 3rd and 4th grade class, I had to go in there and teach him Erie Canal and all, Black Sox and all sorts of other crazy camp songs. But you know, it's that kind of learning will stay with them. They're going to remember those songs forever. And it really, I always say, Lucia creates memories, and that's creating. I don't know how long you're in there, half an hour or whatever, but it's time well served, and I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled to see more music and bringing it down to all grades, especially the vocal music, so every kid can learn the joy of singing. So it's wonderful.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Go.
I just want to say that we had mentioned this before, but Miss Dixon and I are supposed to start a kazoo band.
Kazoo band. We have a big idea.
You have the team to do it.
But yeah, and we said, you know, some of these kids, the older kids, are in the band, in the parade in the band. Why can't little ones be in the parade with the kazoos? And just simple little songs that you taught. And then another side story is, I was in a band, an honor band, and I went all the way to Long Beach for the band review. They forgot to put my uniform in.
Oh, no.
May I? Will we be teaching piano or maybe classical or jazz, or is that in the works?
We do offer piano at the high school levels, and do you guys want to speak to the? Gina does keyboard and.
Mhm.
because they knock against and then they break.
Mhm.
So that's hard to do.
Mhm.
And like alternate sounds other than just keys.
Yeah, that takes a lot.
So that's the logistical part. I like learning piano, but
I will. Oh, sorry, Dina. Go ahead.
and it's hard to find a key that doesn't have all those but that's a logistics thing. I don't think anybody's where we are right now.
Great. So
But we do have it at the high schools.
We do.
Yes.
yeah, it's elective.
So,
Mayor,
are you, oh, go ahead.
because we have Senora Bacocchio's husband that plays classical music, and he's open to maybe teaching.
Perfect. Thank you.
There's a lot of wonderful opportunities ahead with our music program, including, still big dreaming about, we're in our first year and we started with some of the basics, and there's some great choices. I am really proud to live in the state of California where the voters provided funding for this incredible program, and there's so many ways we can take it from here. So in this first year, I think we'll continue to gather input, and many of our music teachers are professional musicians themselves with both classical and popular music training, and so we're able to bring in some exposure and opportunities for many of our students. So there's lots of opportunity ahead.
Awesome.
So I spent the majority of my career teaching in this district, and I watched our music program shrink and shrink and shrink. Dina was there. We watched band leave fourth grade. We watched it leave fifth grade. It was cut to one day a week in sixth grade, and we wondered why the middle school and the high school bands were shrinking. So when I was elected in 2012, visual performing arts was that's my love. And it provides the balance to our kids and to their life. Very unlikely that they're going to be playing football when they're 45 years old, but they'll listen to music and they'll have an appreciation for it. They might even still play an instrument. When I was in school, we had orchestra. I learned violin at elementary school. It's crucial. And I'm so excited about what you guys are doing. It's wonderful. I anticipate going to the high school football game in a few years and not seeing 25 kids on the field. I know it's grown some since the last time I went, but I was shocked. So kudos to all of you. Thank you for coming to teach our kids the love of music and everything that goes with it.
And creating a memory for them every year. Yeah.
Thank you.
Especially
Thank
for
you,
our
Dee.
special
Thank you.
education classes.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes. Thank you again. Thank you so much. Thank you, team. You guys are awesome.
Okay, we're moving on to item number 12, which is a public hearing. And Ms. Dixon.
Thank you, Trustee Mayor. Tonight, it is time to hold the annual public hearing for the assurance of the availability of sufficient instructional materials. Those school districts that receive state funding for instructional materials are required to hold an annual public hearing per Education Code Section 60119. The board has received an attached notice of public hearing regarding the sufficiency of textbooks and instructional materials and their alignment with the content standards adopted by the State Board of Education for each pupil in the district. The content standards that we assess with this routine action are in the following subjects: mathematics, science, history, social science, English language arts, and English language development. The notice of public hearing has been sent to all schools and district office for posting, so our recommendation is that you now hold the public hearing for availability of sufficient instructional materials.
And I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:47. Is there anyone in our audience who would like to participate in this public hearing? I think I'm going to be shocked someday when somebody actually gets up and talks during the public hearing. I'm closing the public hearing, and we're going to move on to item number 13, which also addresses this.
Yes, thank you, Trustee Mayor. So we are now seeking approval for the adoption of Resolution A-2324-04 about availability of sufficient instructional materials for the 2023-2024 school year. I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
Does anyone have a question?
Do we ever get a visit on this or an audit? I know.
Yes, ma'am, we do. We had our Williams audit already this year, just a few weeks ago. The state identifies, at this point, the state identifies schools that are listed as additional targeted support and improvement schools based on their California state dashboard. For 2 years ago, the schools that we audit on behalf of all of the district are Fairgrove Elementary, Napomo Elementary, and Mesa Middle School. So thank you to the incredible teams at each of those schools and their principals and some key curriculum staff, including Ms. Borja, who's in the evening audience this evening, for helping to organize those. That's a big lift, but yes, we do an audit every year, and SLOCO does it on behalf of the state.
Anybody else? Any comments or questions from our audience? Comments? Back to the board for comment. So we need a motion for the adoption of Resolution A-2324-04, availability of sufficient instructional materials 2023-2024 school year.
I'll move approval of adoption of resolution A-2324-04, availability of sufficient instructional materials 2023-2024 school year.
Been moved by Ms. Candell, seconded by Ms. Santos. Roll call, please.
Ms. Candell?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Ms. Pham?
Yes.
Mrs. Mayer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Moving on to agenda item number 14, approval adoption of resolution A-2324-05, authorizing the Lucia Unified School District to make application for and to sign certain assurances with respect to applications for local, state, and federal programs, projects, or grants, lower emission school bus program grants administered by the SLO County Air Pollution Control District. Mr. Eichberger.
Thank you, Trustee Mayor. It's very exciting this evening. Back in July, the district submitted Part A of a grant requesting 4 replacement school buses from the SLO County Air Pollution Control District, and they approved 2. So we will be adding 2, or we will be replacing 2 of our aging buses, one of which was a 1989 bus with propane buses that will be able to run our traditional school routes.
Nice. Any questions? Any comments from the audience on this item? Any comments from the board? We need a motion on this item.
I move approval, adoption of resolution A-2324-05, authorizing the Lucia Unified School District to make application for and to sign certain assurances with respect to applications for local, state, and federal programs, projects, or grants, lower emission school bus program grants administered by the SLO County Air Pollution Control District.
Second.
Then moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Santos. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Naomi Bernier?
Yes.
Ms. Candell?
Yes.
Ms. Pham?
Yes.
Ms. Mayer?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Moving to items scheduled for discussion, possible action, agenda item number 15, proposal for strategic communications services by Clifford Moss to assist in determining local feasibility for potential bond in 2024. Told you we were going to be on tonight.
Yes, thank you. Back in July, I'm going to start back with a little bit of history. Back in July, the board authorized, or I'm sorry, back in June 13th, the board authorized RRM Design Group to help update and renew our facilities master plan. And as part of that facility master plan, we've been evaluating, Measure I and the current efforts that we have already completed, as well as other projects that are quote unquote still in the hopper, whether they are ground is broken and we're watching footings being poured as we think about the new classrooms at Judkins Middle School, or thinking about current projects that we're awaiting DSA approval, such as the auxiliary gym here at Arroyo Grande High School. We are still evaluating that need for district facilities. However, one of those things that we have to consider is whether or not we will be able to do the additional things that were on our wish list that we didn't do with Measure I. So Clifford Moss is a strategic firm that supports early listening and helps the district evaluate whether or not bond extension of Measure I, if you will, would be feasible given voter opinion and feedback. So this is part of 2 items this evening.
Questions?
I have a question. Mr. Archberger, what's Fund 41?
I will I'll let Rhonda give me the nod if I get this correct. It's capital outlay for building and construction, and it can be used for determining if future building is needed.
Got it.
So this is pre-polling, just that idea of gathering information for the board. And should the district decide to seek a general obligation bond, which would typically fall under phase 2 or phase 3 of the Clifford Moss proposal, the funding would transition to a separate non-Lucia Mar donation fund.
Right.
So anytime we would actually, from when the board passes the resolution saying we want to go for a general obligation bond, at that point in time, it would shift from Fund 41. One of the things that we have been doing some research on is if we do decide to pursue a bond in 2024, that the funds that are expended in Fund 41, there are ways to have the bond refund those fund balances as part of the bond.
Fund 41 only funds pre-campaign activities.
Got it.
Thank you. Did we ever get an updated assessment or report on the flooding area where the gym proposal? We have been working, Executive Director Stenson and myself have been meeting regularly with the city of Arroyo Grande, specifically about the flooding here at Arroyo Grande High School. And we have one project that we've done so far is we removed a pedestrian bridge that had been installed by our district a number of years ago that supported our sports teams and practice fields. And it was shown during the flood that it actually was creating some backflow and issues related to the funding that occurred, or the flooding that had occurred. I will say that we did have a ton of water that came in over a very short period of time on saturated ground, and we've been working with the city on mitigating those potential issues moving forward. Thank you.
Yeah. So when we went to get the Measure I bond passed and the public gave us that bond money, did we have any accountability to the public of showing them what we used that for? I mean, really.
Excellent question. We do actually. We have a community bond oversight committee, and we are currently seeking volunteers that would like to be on said committee to help make sure the last dollars of Measure I are spent appropriately. That bond oversight committee actually does come and do a presentation to the board each year. Again, we are actively seeking volunteers to be on the bond committee if anyone is interested, or if you know someone that is a business owner or a parent of a student in the district, a member of a senior citizen organization, or an at-large member of the public that would like to be on the committee. We are actually seeking applications right now, so you can put them in contact with me.
And in addition, when we go for the new bond, let's say, after the
initial investigation or, inquiry, do we have a list of things that we are hoping to accomplish with that bond money? So that we let the public know this is why we're going and asking the public to give us more money for our kids. Excellent question. That is really one of the main functions of the facilities master plan that RRM is working on. We are also working with Davis Demographics to determine what our student projections will be by school area, and that will also be something that Clifford Moss will be examining as part of the bond feasibility.
Some of that will come up in the next item too.
And the ballot measure has to identify those items. So when someone goes to vote for a bond, it has to identify what that would be paying for.
Some of the bond measures don't list every single item.
Right, right.
So
they say safety apparatus
or
or
very
something.
general, and I thought, if
Right.
if I'm giving my tax dollars, I want to
want
know
it
where it's
specific.
going.
Yeah.
And part of that has to do with the limits on how many words that we can actually put in the
ballots.
actual ballot measure. So we are limited in terms of how much information, and that is a key component of what Clifford Moss does in phase 2 and 3 is they work on that community outreach and ways for us as a district to share that message from Team Lucia Mar to the voters that would be making that decision. Again, that is not district funded. That would be outside of the district.
Oh yeah,
200.
Yes. Any more questions from the board?
Any more questions from the board? I have 2 comment cards on this item. Mr. Stewart pronounced your name correctly. Biscoff? Bischoff. Okay. Yes, you're up first. Bischoff. Okay.
And all is forgiven.
Thank you.
Good evening, board. My name is Paul Bischoff, and I'm here to talk about this concept. I fancy myself as an amateur, lots of things, a psychologist, a counselor, and in this case, I'm going to fancy myself as a amateur attorney by saying that it appears that we are presuming facts that are not in evidence in this case. Page 7 of the handout talks about time-tested strategies and tactics to define your path to election success. The vendor presenting that to the board. The conflict of interest that I see in this case is that if a group of citizens was against this bond, the district would be using that group's money, their own money, as taxpayers against them. That seems like an odd position for the district to be in, to be fighting against citizens and taxpayers using that group's own money. To presume that it's a foregone conclusion that any bond should be passed is a pretty rough position for this taxpayer to accept. For one reason, Measure I was $170 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money in 2016. The harsh effects of recent significant inflation on the working poor is the other stated and one of the many reasons that passing a bond at this point would be an awful idea. It's unfortunate that the relationship between the board, the district, and the taxpayers has come to this, but to use the money that the taxpayers are providing to strategize against, that's probably a harsh word, but against the taxpayer is a rough observation. But if I'm in the minority and the bond wants to pass, the voters want to saddle themselves with more obligations, then let them speak. Absolutely. The board, the district does have the right to present a bond to the voters. But to strategize and to study how to get more money from the taxpayers, using taxpayers' money for that strategizing and studying is a pretty grave overreach in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. I have another card on the same topic, Sandra Pachichio. And I know I didn't do that one right either. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Um, so I'm just going to speak on this because I think that the economy is really bad. I think inflation has really hit us all really, no matter what socioeconomic status you hold. Just recently, we found out that inflation went up 2.5%, I believe. And then also with the signing of potentially overturning Prop 13, which is going to come up for election, and then possibly in the next election or so, that's going to be like the next piggy bank for the state, for the government, and they can tax you up to whatever they want. There'll be, there'll be no limits on that. And I think that the unintended consequences of this is that a lot of families are going to be leaving the state. I think that people will not be able to afford to live here. The taxes will kill them. And a lot of senior citizens who live already on limited incomes will no longer be able to afford to stay in their homes. They'll be forced to sell, and young families will be forced to leave the state. That will cost the district children that won't be here. So there is a lot of unintended consequences. And to spend the money on these people, whatever amount of money it's going to cost us, I think is really a waste of money and not a very good use of our tax dollars at this time. And then I think that as the economy improves, maybe in future years to see what happens, I think is more prudent. But thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate the comments. Okay, and the other ones I have are on 16. Okay. Kim?
Fuller, come on up.
Okay. It doesn't matter.
Mr. Fuller, you can come on up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mike Fuller?
Yeah.
Are you Mr. Fuller?
I am.
I had you marked down for 16. Sorry. So 15, go ahead.
I might have written sloppy. I don't know.
All right.
Hard to say. Yeah, I'm Mike Fuller. Thank you for listening to me. I hope you actually do more than just listen to me. I hope you'll really hear me and take it to heart what I'm saying. It's been mentioned, but just 7 short years ago, a bond was passed for $170 million that ultimately is scheduled to cost the local taxpayers $396 million when you figure in the interest and all. It is at a time, as it's been mentioned, when we talk about affordability of living here. A lot of people are having to leave. California's had a big flight from our state, and this kind of thing is just going to keep on adding. We don't seem to do anything to help the affordability. It's getting harder and harder. I've been a financial planner for over 27 years, and I can tell you firsthand, I have a lot of local clients, some of them like little widows, little old couples that can barely make their property tax payments when they're trying to pay for everything else. And this just gets added on top of that. So the idea to me of spending, I think it's $118,000 roughly to study the fact of whether we're going to try and pass some more cost on to our poor local taxpayers, I think that money could be used better to try and improve things. I mean, if I'm a hamburger joint down the stand trying to sell hamburgers and fewer people are buying my hamburgers every year, I don't do studies to figure out how to get people to pay more for my burgers so I could keep my wallet full. I'm trying to figure out how to make my burgers better or cut my costs. And I think in this case, I do see, because I've been part of this community since I was a little guy, and I'm out and about, and I do hear a lot of people talking like they're just kind of at the end of their wits. They're not going to have their kids go to the public schools any longer here. And I think I heard a few meetings ago when I was here that the school attendance has been dropping, and if I understand right, a lot of the revenues are tied to school attendance. So I'm not trying to be harsh on anything. I know it's a tough environment these days, but we got to figure out how to improve the product and get these kids back here, because they're going to homeschooling, private schooling, they're leaving the state. I know firsthand people in all those situations that are doing that. So I just hope those things are considered and realize that these kind of costs aren't small. It's already unaffordable here. To just keep adding more and more on to some of these poor folks here. I wish they were here to represent themselves, but I can tell you probably 80% or more of them would feel this way, that they don't want more piled on. I mean, we're teetering on the verge of a recession we may or may not go into, but the average household in our country right now, the debt level per household is definitely on the incline as monies dry up from all the checks that have been received. So it's getting tough for people right now. So I just hope you guys will all really think about that we're spending other people's money, and just appreciate that consideration.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Appreciate the comments. Okay. Comments from the board.
I have a comment.
Go.
Tonight's proposal in front of us is just for a feasibility study that would not include any kind of campaign strategizing, ballot formation, any of that stuff. All it is a feasibility study looking at how many households we have in our community, what the threshold is on their property taxes already, if we just extended the existing assessment on the property tax of Measure I. Any kind of campaigning or electioneering is forbidden to come from the district's coffers. We'll make that very clear. Anyone here who works for the district or the board cannot be campaigning on school grounds. We wouldn't be talking about it at board meetings. It is not something that the district engages in. It's something a community group would have to take on as their proposition, FYI, or people do in their own free time. So before us tonight is just looking at the feasibility study. We did a feasibility study when the Clark Center was being built. Could we raise enough money to sustain the Clark Center? Cuesta College does a feasibility study. How could they pay for a South County Center? It's just a prudent thing to do before you go hog wild into any kind of direction, is to get all the facts. And that's what we're just asking for, is to get all the facts here tonight. We've worked with Clifford Moss before. They're easy to work with. I really like Bonnie Moss. I get a kick out of her. She seems to really know her stuff. So I just want to make it very clear that no electioneering can occur on school grounds from school personnel. Period.
I also I asked some of the same questions about what would be the tax burden in addition to what is already in place. And my understanding is that this is not on top of the current amount that people are paying. As Trustee Martin just mentioned, that's important to me, that we're not overburdening people. And I also understand that this is a study that happens in phases, and so if the feasibility initial studies look like it's not feasible, then it doesn't mean that we're committed to this full amount.
Correct.
Right.
On a monthly basis, right? Yeah.
Right. Yep. So if we go 2 months in and decide that this isn't looking right, then we stop at 2 months. Yep.
I have to agree with the speakers that spoke today. When I read this, I totally disagreed. Why can't we maybe table this for 2028? I mean, what's the hurry? We still have monies and we still have buildings. We have depreciation on some of the properties. I mean,
Well, I just would say that construction at school sites takes a really long time. I'm currently working at a school that's been under construction for 9 years. So to get things from planning to actually sticks in the ground and being built can take many, many years. So you need to have your funding set aside first before you can hire the architect, get the approval from the Department of State Architecture, and get those buildings built. So at schools building is a very slow process. We've done a great job, but it still takes time. There's a lot of bureaucracy with the DSA to get through. So that's why I know we would need our funding first before we could go into anything. And that's why I wouldn't push it off to 28 for sure.
Ms.
Go ahead.
I think another thing that people don't realize that if they start to build on a ground that is sacred, they have to stop right then and there. There is no moving it around or whatever. And also, as you mentioned, when you go through DSA, this DSA can make you wait months, maybe years before they approve it. It can be sitting right on their desk, right in front of them, and we have to wait. And then to try to get, and thanks to Vern, all the contracts, and we have to look at each and every bid that comes in and stuff. So you're thinking, oh yeah, you still have money in your pocket. That money is already set aside for different projects that are there. It's just like when people are talking about Dana wanting to build all of those homes and stuff like that. Where's the school going to be? That's going to impact us. Where are we going to put them? There's so many things that you have to go through before you build. If any of you have built a home or repaired a home, you know that yes, this bid's coming in, and then they're going to tell you, oh, but we have to do this, so you're going to have to go back and rearrange your budget a little bit. So,
well, this is really early on. I think we should approve the feasibility study and let's see where it lands.
I think it's a waste of money.
No, everybody has their opinion.
Sam, any comment?
You know, when you build it in construction, you have to do a lot of tests. You have to explore all different avenues and before you jump in with all your money, and then all of a sudden it blows up in your face that there was, I don't know, water or yeah. So I know there's a project up in Santa Maria where after the last rain, it was so bad that it washed out tons and tons of dirt, and they had to go back and spend tons of money in doing a water basin. This to me is having a better understanding what's ahead of us, what we need to do in regards to getting the financing in part. So it's the whole kind of the vision of it all. It's not just jumping in. So I see it a little bit different, and I hear the public asking us to not waste our money, but we will waste more money, I think, in the end if we don't do this type of research or type of investigation. So that's just how I feel.
I can appreciate Ms. Pham. I just think that we have schools that really need care. We can put our money into our schools that are existing. And I think we're jumping the gun. I mean, why can't we wait 4 more years?
I think if you went on the tours with the superintendent, which most of us have, you've been able to see exactly the improvements that each and every school has been and has gotten. Everything from the cafeteria to a gym to libraries, new restrooms. These are all because of that bond. And I will say thank you, Miss Martin, for many shoes that you wore during that time, hitting the pavement. Mr. Robertson, who used to be on our board. There was a lot of people that helped work that bond, and we have very little bit of that money left over, and it's because of all these students and repairs that we needed to do things. Old buildings from the 50s were now replaced with stick buildings instead of the portables.
So how many times did the bond fail and we weren't able to repair our schools for years and years and years and years?
I worked
and
on
years.
2 failed bonds, 3 passed bonds, the Measure A to build Napomo High, Measure A to improve our work in high school, the Measure I. But we worked on bonds before that didn't pass, and we worked our tails off. And I don't know, when I say we, I mean a community group. I wasn't on the board. It was a community group. My kids were tiny, you know. It takes a long time it takes hard work to pass a bond, but then also I think our district does a really good job of showing our community how fiscally responsible we've been with our money. We haven't hired all these outside overseers who get, neighboring districts are paying 1% of their bond to someone to oversee the product. We've done a really good job with our project management, keep doing those services in-house and saving millions of dollars. And so we've extended the value of our bond by doing that. Like I said, tonight, this is just an early feasibility study, and it's coming out of Fund 41 that's set aside to do these kind of things. We just need to know what's out there before we can move forward.
I was just trying to think how many new schools that we have bought. There was Pomo, there's New Tech, there's
Dorothea Lang was new for us,
Yeah,
so.
there was Mesa.
Yeah.
And,
We've been
and
around
then
a long time.
The two added up at Lopez.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. So, and the new MPR rooms that were put at Shell Beach.
Plus, you have all the underground improvements that you can't see when you drive by the school, and that was a lot. Okay, are we ready to?
I move to approve a proposal for strategic communication services by Clifford Moss to assist in determining local feasibility for a potential bond in 2024.
Second.
Been moved by Ms. Martin, seconded by Ms. Santos. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
Ms. Santos?
Yes.
Ms. Naomi Vernier?
No.
Ms. Kendall?
Yes.
Ms. Pham?
Yes.
Ms. Smear?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Moving on to item number 16, a proposal for a bond feasibility survey by True North Research. Mr. Eichberger.
So this item is the part B of phase one, meaning determining what everything from what a potential fee structure would be based on voter early polling, meaning it looks at 400 quality interviews that sample potential things that voters would like to see done, meaning other improvements that aren't currently at part of Measure I. It could be things that are other big ticket items that they would like to do. Information gathering, I apologize for the idea of polling. It's information gathering to see what items really hold value to the voters, meaning when we think of Measure I, not only were our classrooms modernized, we have improvements to actual athletic facilities. There are a number of things that the voters feel are adding value to the district that are making our schools better. So this is an opportunity to do that information gathering to see what it is voters actually want. What do our constituents want from the district?
Or not want.
Or not want.
Any questions from the board? I have some speaker cards. Here I go again. Bischoff, Mr. Bischoff. Is that right?
Bischoff.
Bischoff. Yeah. Okay.
I think you got it. Oh, shoot. Sorry. I think you got it. I'm going to read really quick from Clifford Moss's handout. And it feels like to me just to the loaded
This isn't
part of this.
This is the True North proposal.
Is this, that this doesn't feel like a feasibility study to me. Our results reflect the unique commitment that we and you invest in taking your district to a new level in the communication space. It all starts with a story.
I'm going to have
your
to
story.
Interrupt.
Our job is to bring the story to life.
Sir,
our
we've
work
already
employs
covered
the
this.
best time-tested strategies and tactics, often including precise targeting, effective grassroots organizing, disciplined field work, smart direct mail, and online media. We bring an extra creative edge, enhancing proven techniques with cutting-edge technology, creative approaches to media, and robust online campaigns. Clifford Moss and True North work hand in glove to uncover the evidence informed by data that defines your path to election success. True North drives the research. Clifford Moss guides that strategy, paying particular attention to stakeholder and public engagement to attract the support you need to achieve your goals. That is not a feasibility study. So moving to 16. I'd like to reiterate the concept that I said in item 15, that the district staff and board have the right, the absolute right to bring a